Okay, dividing integers. We're going to go back to using our sleeping medical doctor. Looking at this, remember that we use the same things as we used for multiplication because our doctor is for multiplication and division. Okay, so that means that the same sign is positive. So when we have an example, we've got negative 12 divided by negative 6. Remember that 6 goes into 12 two times. And now two negatives, they're both the same sign, it's going to be a positive answer. Where next we've got the different signs, and different signs are negative.
Only for multiplication and division.
So, looking at that, negative 12 divided by 6, again, we know that's 2. And it's a negative divided by positive. Remember, use your covering and keep this negative. Your answer is going to be negative. Next up, we've got the 0. Okay, I can divide 0 divided by 6 equals 0. But 6 divided by 0 is undefined. Okay, the way that I like to remember that is that I can have 0 pieces of 6 pies. I can choose not to take any of the 6. But if there are no pies, I can't have 6 pieces. Now I really want 6 pieces, but there aren't any, right? There's nothing on the bottom. If there's nothing on the bottom, that means I can't have any because there's none there. When there are none there, when there's no pieces, it's going to be called undefined. Okay? It's going to be a tricky one. You will see that in the problems in the book, so be careful and pay attention. So let's go ahead and do some examples using our sleeping doctor. We've got negative 33 divided by 11. Remember, 11 goes into 33 three times. I've got my negative divided by my positive, so I've got my negative left over, and it's negative 3. Negative 25 divided by negative 5. Okay, we've got a negative and a negative, so our mouth is left over, our plus sign. It's going to be positive. 25 divided by 5 is 5. And in discussion, Mrs. D and I have both just said that we're both okay with you putting the plus, though it's totally not needed. You know, those mathematicians do as little as they can, so they wouldn't put that plus sign, but you can. We'll be totally okay with that.
I like to say they're being efficient.
Sure. So, okay, now it's negative 28 divided by 0. Can I have 28 pieces of nothing? No, look back at your notes. It's undefined. We also want to look at evaluating. So remember that I'm going to find the value of A, which is over here, and plug it in. So negative 24. And the value of B is 8. Okay, so I'm going to put that on top. Remember, I always put my parentheses around them.
Give it a little hug.
On my C, I'm going to take my negative 4. Okay, there are a couple ways to solve this. First of all, if you do 24 times 8, 8 times 4 is 32. 8 times 2 is 16, 17, 18, 19. Remember, it's a negative times a positive, so it equals a negative. Negative 192 divided by negative 4. So going into that, we've got 4 into 192. 4 goes into 19 4 times. 4 times 4, remember that's 16. 19 minus 16 is 3. Bring down our 2. 4 goes into 32 8 times, right? Because 4 times 8 is 32. And we're left over with nothing. So my answer is 48. But now let's look at our sign. Woo, big one. A negative divided by a negative. Cancel those eyes out, and you're left with a positive. I'm going to go ahead and look at another way of solving that.
He reminds me of one of the Ninja Turtles or whatever that used to be. And we always like to try to show you a couple of different ways to solve the same thing. That way you know you can approach it the way that makes sense to you.
So the next way is really taking care of the division first, simplifying before we have to multiply, because 192 is really a big number and we don't have to get that big. So if we look at the negative 24 divided by the negative 4, and I'm just going to put on the side here times 8, all right, because we don't want to forget about that guy. Remember, 4 goes into 24 how many times? That's right, 6. Negative divided by negative, again, same thing. The i's are gone, and it's plus. So it's positive 6. And we're going to put that negative 8 over here.
Or positive.
I'm sorry, yeah, I noticed in my head that I had said that. 6 times 8, okay, same thing. We get our 48. We just discovered this, or it's 2 positives. It stays positive. There's my answer.
Yeah, a lot less work for simplifying.
Yeah. So again, it's up to you how you do it. Some people really see that fast on how to simplify, and other people would rather do the multiplication and the division. Whatever you feel comfortable with is what we want you to do. So next up, find the mean of the data. We're going to look at that scoreboard method. A good example of this is we like talking about money. You know, owing $16, having $17, and earning another 8, but then owing 23. Right? We want to talk about money because we can all relate to money. So using the scoreboard method that we talked about in the adding integers video, we're going to get all of our positives, which are here 17 and 8. And we're going to take our negatives 16, 23, and 31. So 17 plus 8 is 25. And let's add up over here. We've got 1 and 3 is 4, plus 6 is 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I end up with 70. So the method here is that we're going to now subtract 70 minus 25. And we have to borrow. Make this a 10. That's kind of messy, isn't it?
That's okay. I think the
10 minus 5 is 5. And 6 minus 2 is 4. So remember that mean is where you add all the data up and you divide by how many pieces of data that there are. So here there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces of data. So we're going to take 45. And I'm sorry, before I continue on that thought, I need to come down here and say that after we subtracted, we need to keep the sign of the higher number. So since 70 is bigger than 25, we want this negative. Yes. So it's negative 45. Now I'm going to divide it by those 5 pieces of information. Remember that the amount of information is always going to be positive. 5 goes into 45 9 times. And a negative divided by a positive are different signs, so it's going to be negative. The mean here is going to be negative 9. Make sure that you go ahead and write your summary, and in addition to your summary, you need to write down questions. If you have questions about the dividing by 0, the undefined, the mean, go ahead and write those down and we'll go over them in class tomorrow.